Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. So for the first part, I will introduce you about this topic. First, we will see the meaning. The meaning of rearranging equation is changing the arrangements of terms in an equation. It means that from one equation, we can make or change the subject. So it will become several of few equation from one equation. Let's see the example. For example, PV equals to nRT. I am very sure that most of us have seen and used this equation a lot. Okay. This equation is ideal gas law equation. So the question 1 is to rearrange the equation so that we have t in terms of variable. So from the equation we know that we need to move t to the left hand side and move PV to the right hand side. So it will become T equals to PV over NR. So this is what basically we did before this. But later on I will explain to you what actually we did. We cannot just simply bring it to the left hand side and to the right hand side. Yes, basically we just changed it, but I will explain to you what actually we did. There are a few operations involved in rearranging equation. It's either you add or subtract the same quantity to or from both sides, or multiply or divide both sides by the same quantity. Usually, it's more than two operations that we need to use, two or more, that we need to change the subject. That is an order to do arrangement. So there is a rule that we need to follow, which is what must, but it a bit different from before what we learned, because in this topic we need to start from the right hand side to the left hand side. Before this, we know that when we see what must, we need to start from the left hand side and to the right hand side. So S for subtraction, A for addition, M for multiplication, D for division, O for order, and lastly B for bracket. Now let's see an example about this topic. For example, in thermodynamics, the Gibbs function delta G dictates whether a reaction is feasible at a temperature T. Delta S and delta H are the entropy and enthalpy changes for the reaction. They are all related by the following equation, which is delta G equals to delta H minus T delta S. So let's see what is the question. Rearrange the equation to make delta S the subject. So what does it mean? It means that we need to make a delta S from this equation as a subject. There are few steps or operations that we need to do in order to make a delta S as a subject from the equation. Okay. First, in order to make delta S as a subject, we need to move negative T delta S to the left hand side. So in order to do that, we need to add both sides with T delta S. Second, we need to remove this G and put it on the right hand side. So in order to do that, we need to subtract both sides with delta G. Lastly, after we move delta G to the right hand side, we need to eliminate this T on the left hand side and move it to the right hand side. So what we need to do is we need to divide both sides with T. So the final answer that we will get is delta S equals to delta H minus delta G over T. Later on, you will see more complex example afterwards. So
okay, so now rearranging with power roots. So, the inverse operation of power are roots. So, to reverse a power, we take a root and vice versa. We complete rearrangement in reverse order of bulk mass. Therefore, we rearrange powers and roots in the order section. Example, we use E MC square. So we want to express it and express C being the subject. Okay, so the solution, we start with divide each side with the equation by M. Okay, so okay. So now C raised to the power of 2. So undo this operation, we square roots the both sides. Okay, so the answer is okay. We must take notes that if we were to make A the subject in A square B plus C, we take the square root of the both sides to get A B plus C, not A square root B plus square root C. This is totally wrong. Okay, this is the right one. Okay, similar to square root D E plus F, if we want only D as the subject, it must be D E plus F both square. This is the right one, not E, not E square plus F square. No, this is wrong. Okay.
This is one of example that will show you how to rearrange with powers and roots. Let's start by writing the KEQ equation from the balanced chemical equation that given to us. So let's see. The question asks us to find the concentration of H2, and now we have to make H2 as a subject in this equation. Let's start with multiply both sides with H2 cubic. Now we have KEQ and H2 cubic at the left side. Okay, we have to divide both sides to KEQ so that we will have H2 cubic only at the left side. So we have H2 cubic, and to make it H2 only, we have to get rid of the power of 3 at h of h. So let's cube root at both sides, and finally we have h2 as a subject. So now we have h2 equal to cubic root of nh3 square over n multiply with KEQ.
Okay, now let us look to the example of rearranging the equation. Okay, the equation given, a sample of gas occupied 2.4 liter at 20 degrees Celsius. If this gas can expand to 4.8 liter, calculate the final temperature. Okay, from the equation, we can get the initial temperature, initial volume, and final volume. We need to find the final temperature. We can use the Charles' law equation. V1 over T1 equal to V2 over T2. Okay, from the equation, we need to make the T2 as the subject. So first, we need to multiply both sides by T2. So now we can cancel out the T2 on the right hand side, so we get V1 T2 over T1 equal to V2. Okay, next we need to transfer the T1 to the right hand side, so we need to multiply both sides by T1. So we can cancel out the T1 on the left hand side, so we get V1 T2 equal to V2 T1. Lastly, we need to move V1 to the right hand side, so we need to divide both sides by V1. Okay, so now we can cancel out the V1 on the left hand side, so the final equation we get is T2 equal to V2 T1 over V1. Okay, we have done with the rearranging of the equation, so now let us find out the final answer. We need to substitute all the information provided at the equation to the formula, and make sure don't forget to change the temperature unit to the Kelvin, and the final answer is 586 Kelvin. Okay, now let us look to the equation that involving power and root. Okay, the equation given, T is equal to 3 pi sec K over G. The equation asks us to rearrange the equation and make K as the subject. Okay, firstly, we need to divide both sides by 3 pi. So we can cancel out the 3 pi on the right hand side. We get T over 3 pi is equal to sec K over G. Okay, next, we need to square root both sides to eliminate the surd at the right hand side. So we can cancel out the power and the root, and we get T over 3 pi square equal to K over G. So we need to move G to the left hand side, so we need to multiply both sides by G. Okay, now we can cancel out the G at the right hand side, so we get G bracket T over 3 pi square equal to K. So that's the final answer, as K has remained as the subject.
Assalamualaikum. Today we will learn how to solve the formulas involving fraction. As we can see now, we will use D is equals to U plus V, close the bracket, T over 2. For this, we will make U as the subject. So first we will multiply both sides by 2, so we can remove these 2, and we can remove these 2 at here, and there is another method that we can use, that is we can just move these 2 at other side. So next step is we will divide T at both sides, so T here will be removed, or we can do the same method like I said before, just move this T at the other side, so it will be 2D over T. Next, and the last is as we want to make U as the single subject, we will take this V to another side, so it will be minus after we change it. And the last is, it will be like this, U is equals to 2D over T minus V. That's all. Next is we will learn how to solve the formulas when the letter appear twice. As we can see, R is appear twice, right? So we will use R as a subject. So how to make it? First, we can factorize it because this has both of side has R, so we can factorize it. So it will be like this, hash is equals to R upper bracket 2 minus G close bracket. So next, we will move this bracket into the other side, so R will be alone. That's all.
For this slide, there are some exercises that you can do by your own. If you have any questions, you can inform anyone from us. This topic, which is rearranging equation, is very wide. You can apply this in many equations. This topic also is easier for students or chemists, as they did not have to memorize too many formulas. As for example, from one formula, we can derive it into 2 or 3 formulas. Equations is helpful tools and not just things that need to be learned. That's all from us. Thank you.